The music was playing, the audience was clapping, and Ellen DeGeneres was doing what she did best, making people feel at home. But in the third row, 16-year-old Sophia Chen sat perfectly still in her wheelchair, watching the dance segment with eyes that held both wonder and something deeper, something that looked like longing. It was a typical Tuesday afternoon, taping at the Ellen DeGeneres show. The studio buzzed with its familiar energy, that perfect blend of anticipation and joy that had made Ellen's show a beacon of positivity for nearly 2 decades. The signature blue and white lighting cast a warm glow over everything, and the iconic Ellen logo gleamed behind the host's chair like a promise of good things to come. Ellen was in her element, wearing a crisp white button-down and light blue blazer, her infectious energy radiating across the studio. She'd just finished interviewing a young chef from Portland who'd created a restaurant that employed homeless youth, and the audience was still buzzing from the feel-good story. "All right, everybody," Ellen said, clapping her hands together with that familiar smile that had launched 1,000 viral moments. "We've got some incredible guests coming up. But first, I want to do something special. I heard there's someone in our audience today who has a story I need to hear." The cameras swept across the audience, capturing the expectant faces of 300 people who'd traveled from across the country for this moment. But Ellen's eyes had already found their target. She was looking directly at Sophia Chen, who seemed to shrink back in her wheelchair, despite being surrounded by her supportive family. Sophia's mother, Dr. Lisa Chen, a pediatric surgeon from San Francisco, reached over and squeezed her daughter's hand. Next to them sat Sophia's younger brother Marcus, 17, who kept glancing at his sister with a mixture of pride and protective concern. "Sophia Chen," Ellen called out, her voice carrying that special warmth reserved for moments that mattered. "Would you come down here and talk to me?" The studio fell silent, not the planned silence of a television pause, but the organic quiet that happens when 300 people collectively hold their breath. Because everyone could see what Ellen had seen: a young woman in a wheelchair, and beside her chair, a pair of prosthetic legs that caught the studio lights like they were made of hope and determination. Sophia shook her head slightly, her long black hair falling forward to partially hide her face. She'd been born extremely premature, at just 24 weeks, and the complications had cost her both legs below the knee. At 16, she was a junior at San Francisco Academy of Sciences, honor roll student, and volunteer tutor for younger children with disabilities. But right now, she felt like a scared girl who'd made a terrible mistake coming here. "It's okay, sweetheart," Ellen said, already moving away from her host chair and walking into the audience. This wasn't planned. The producers in the control room were frantically adjusting cameras, but Ellen didn't care about marks or blocking. She cared about the girl who was trying to disappear into her wheelchair. Ellen knelt down beside Sophia's chair, bringing herself to eye level. The cameras followed, but suddenly this felt less like a talk show and more like an intimate conversation between two people who understood something about being different. "Hi there," Ellen said softly, her voice now stripped of performance, warm and genuine. "I'm Ellen." "I know," Sophia whispered, so quietly the microphones barely picked it up. "I've watched your show since I was little. What brings you here today?" "Besides the fact that you're in Los Angeles and someone probably told you there would be free snacks." A tiny smile cracked Sophia's serious expression. "My mom wrote to your show," she said. "Maybe you could help me with something." Ellen glanced up at Dr. Chen, who nodded encouragingly. "What kind of something?" Sophia looked down at the prosthetic legs beside her chair. They were state-of-the-art, designed specifically for her by a team of engineers at UCSF Medical Center. Beautiful in their technical precision, but to Sophia, they represented everything she couldn't do, couldn't be, couldn't become. "I want to learn to dance," she said. the words coming out in a rush. I know it sounds stupid. I know I'll never be good at it, but I watch the dancers on your show, and I dream about moving like that, just once. The studio remained perfectly silent. Ellen felt something shift in her chest, that familiar sensation that told her they weren't making television anymore. They were making something more important. That doesn't sound stupid at all, Ellen said. Dancing is one of my favorite things in the world. Why don't we head up to the stage? Sophia's eyes went wide with panic. I can't. I mean, I've never in front of people. Hey, Ellen said, reaching out to take Sophia's hand. It's just us here, me and you. Everyone else is just background music. Behind the scenes, Ellen made a decision that defied every producer's expectation. She stood up and began pushing Sophia's wheelchair toward the stage herself, ignoring the crew members who moved forward to help. This moment belonged to them. As they reached the stage area, Ellen's longtime DJ, Stephen Twitch Boss, appeared with a warm smile. He'd been watching from the DJ booth, and like everyone else in the studio, he could sense that something special was unfolding. This is Sophia, Ellen told Twitch. She wants to learn to dance. Twitch knelt down beside the wheelchair with the easy grace that had made him one of the most bevoused dancers in America. Hey, Sophia, you know what I love about dancing? Sophia shook her head. It's not about your feet, it's about your heart, and I can already tell you've got a dancer's heart. Sophia looked at her prosthetic legs, still beside her chair. But I can't. I mean, these things, she gestured helplessly. I've tried so many times. I put them on, and I try to stand, but I always, and it hurts, and everyone stares, and I just. Her voice broke. 16 years of frustration, of watching other kids run and jump and dance while she sat on the sidelines, came pouring out. I'll never be normal. I'll never be able to do the things other girls do. Ellen was quiet for a moment. Then she did something that nobody in the studio expected. She sat down on the stage floor, right beside Sophia's wheelchair. Normal is overrated, Ellen said simply. Trust me, I know. I spent most of my life trying to be normal, trying to fit in, trying to be what other people thought I should be. And you know what I learned? Sophia wiped her eyes and looked at Ellen. The most beautiful moments happen when we stop trying to be like everyone else and start being exactly who we are. Ellen reached over and picked up one of Sophia's prosthetic legs, examining it with genuine curiosity rather than pity or awkwardness. These are incredible. Look at this engineering. Sophia, do you know how strong you have to be just to use these? I don't feel strong, Sophia whispered. That's because you're measuring strength wrong, Ellen said. Strength isn't about doing things the way everyone else does them. Strength is about finding your own way to do the things that matter to you. She stood up and extended her hand to Sophia. So let's find your way to dance. What happened next would be replayed millions of times across social media, shared in dance studios and rehabilitation centers, and remembered by everyone in that studio for the rest of their lives. Sophia took Ellen's hand and, with trembling fingers, began to put on her prosthetic legs. The process was more complex than most people realized. Adjustments, straps, careful positioning to ensure comfort and stability. Ellen waited patiently, and when Sophia looked up with nervous eyes, Ellen smiled encouragingly. Take your time, we've got all day. When the prosthetics were secured, Ellen helped Sophia stand. For a moment, they stood there together, Ellen's hand steady on Sophia's arm, both of them finding their balance. How does that feel? Ellen asked. Scary, Sophia admitted. But, okay. Twitch, could you play something slow, something beautiful? The opening notes of 1,000 Years by Christina Perri filled the studio, not Ellen's usual upbeat dance music, but something that felt like possibility, like hope taking its first tentative steps. Dancing isn't about complicated moves, Ellen said. beginning to sway gently. It's about feeling the music and letting your body respond to it. Sophia tried to follow Ellen's movement, but her prosthetic legs felt foreign and clumsy. After just a few seconds, she lost her balance and began to fall. Ellen caught her smoothly, as if they'd been dancing together for years. "I can't do this," Sophia said, tears starting again. "I'm never going to be able to do this." "Hey," Ellen said firmly but gently. "Look at me." Sophia met her eyes. "You just danced. Maybe it was only for a few seconds. Maybe it didn't look like what you thought dancing should look like, but you moved to music with intention and joy. That's dancing." But Sophia was frustrated. "No, it's not. Real dancing it's graceful and beautiful." "Says who?" Ellen interrupted. "Who gets to decide what real dancing looks like?" The question hung in the air. Sophia had never really thought about it before. She'd always assumed there was one right way to dance, one way that she would never be able to achieve. Ellen made another decision that would define this moment forever. She sat back down on the stage floor and looked up at Sophia. "You know what? Let's dance, sitting down first. There's no rule that says you have to be standing to dance." Sophia looked confused, but intrigued. Ellen patted the floor beside her, and slowly, carefully, Sophia lowered herself to sit next to Ellen on the stage. "Dancing is about expressing yourself through movement," Ellen said, beginning to move her arms and shoulders to the music. "It doesn't matter if that movement happens standing up, sitting down, or upside down." Sophia watched Ellen's graceful arm movements and tentatively began to mirror them. Her movements were tentative at first, self-conscious, but as the music continued, something began to shift. "There you go," Ellen encouraged. "Feel that? That's your body telling your story." And suddenly, Sophia wasn't thinking about what she couldn't do. She was thinking about the music, about the way it made her feel, about the way her arms could express emotions that words couldn't capture. She closed her eyes and let herself get lost in the movement. The audience watched in complete silence, mesmerized by the simple beauty of two people sitting on a stage, moving to music, connected by something deeper than choreography. When the song ended, Sophia opened her eyes to find 300 people on their feet, applauding not with the polite enthusiasm of a television audience, but with genuine emotion. Some were crying, others were smiling through tears. All of them had just witnessed something that reminded them why human connection matters. But Ellen wasn't finished. She stood up and extended her hand to Sophia again. "Ready to try standing one more time?" This time, when Sophia stood, something was different. The fear was still there, but it was accompanied by something new: determination. Ellen put her arm around Sophia's waist, providing support and stability. "We're going to take this really slow," Ellen said, "just shifting weight from one foot to the other, nothing fancy." Twitch started another song, something with a gentle, steady beat. Ellen and Sophia began to sway together, Ellen providing the stability that Sophia's prosthetics couldn't quite offer yet. For 30 seconds, they danced, standing up, together, to music that filled the studio with possibility. When Sophia began to lose her balance again, instead of falling, she laughed. Actually laughed. "I did it," she said, wonder in her voice. "I actually danced standing up." "Yes, you did," Ellen said, beaming with pride. "And you know what that makes you?" "What?" "A dancer." The applause this time was thunderous, but more than that, it was joyful. The kind of applause that celebrates not just achievement, but courage, not just success, but the willingness to try. Ellen walked over to her host's chair and picked up a small wrapped box that had been waiting there. "Sophia, I have something for you," she said, returning to where Sophia stood, still glowing with accomplishment. Sophia opened the box to find a beautiful silver bracelet with a single charm, a tiny pair of dancing shoes. "Every dancer needs something to remind her that she belongs in the dance," Ellen said, helping Sophia put on the bracelet. "This is yours." Sophia looked down at the bracelet, then back at Ellen, then out at the audience that was still on its feet. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to thank me," Ellen said. "You just need to keep dancing, in whatever way feels right to you. Because the world needs to see what you just showed us." "What's that?" "That there's no wrong way to follow your dreams. There's only your way." 6 months later, Sophia Chen enrolled in an adaptive dance program at UC San Francisco. She learned to dance with her prosthetics, but she also learned to dance without them. She learned to dance sitting down, lying down, and in ways that had never been taught in any dance studio. More importantly, she learned that dancing isn't about conforming to someone else's idea of perfection. It's about finding your own unique way to express the music that lives inside you. The video of Sophia and Ellen dancing together became one of the most watched moments in Ellen show history, but its real impact couldn't be measured in views or shares. It could be measured in the thousands of people with disabilities who saw it and decided to try something they'd always been told they couldn't do. It could be measured in the dance studios that began offering adaptive programs, in the prosthetic designers who were inspired to create new innovations, in the parents who stopped seeing their children's differences as limitations and started seeing them as unique strengths. And it could be measured in a 16-year-old girl who learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stand up, literally and figuratively, and dance to the rhythm of your own heart. Because that's what courage looks like, that's what dreams sound like, and that's what happens when someone believes in you enough to dance with you exactly as you are. The standing that stopped the world wasn't about perfect balance or flawless technique. It was about a young woman finding her way to express the music that had always lived inside her, and a talk show host who understood that sometimes the most important moments happen when you throw away the script and follow your heart. Ellen DeGeneres had made millions of people laugh over the years, but that day, she did something even more powerful. She helped someone discover that they were already everything they needed to be.